Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Couples Emporium, and this is episode number 17. We are your host. I am Lincoln, and this lovely lady next to me is Sandy. If you're joining us for the first time, this is a place where faith meets relationship science and biblical principles, where we have honest conversations about what it really takes to build healthy, lasting relationships. Emotional affairs rarely begin with one dramatic decision. They usually develop through subtle boundary crossings, misplaced vulnerability, secrecy, and emotional dependence.
In our last episode, episode 16, we talked about emotional affairs and asked a hard question. Is it cheating if it never got physical? In this episode, we're using 5 realistic role play scenarios to show how emotional affairs can quietly begin and develop, and how couples can recognize warnings signs earlier. So we are taking this much further.
We also explained that an emotional affair happens when emotional intimacy, secrecy, loyalty, and attachment begin to shift away from the marriage and toward someone else. We also looked at how emotional affairs damage trust, weaken emotional safety, and redirect intimacy away from the covenant.
We're going to be taking this definitely a little bit further today.
Because many people understand the term emotional affair in theory, but they still do not always recognize how one actually begins.
So, again, in this episode, we're walking through realistic scenarios to show how emotional affairs can quietly develop over time.
One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming emotional affairs start with obvious intentions.
But more often, they actually start with things that feel small, harmless, understandable, or easy to explain away.
That is why we are doing role play scenarios today.
And after each one, we're going to pause and break down what made it dangerous, where the boundary was crossed, and what should have happened instead.
So let's look at the first scenario, Sam.
Scenario one is the work friend who just gets me. And this is a scenario where a husband has been stressed out at work and start opening up more to a female coworker who's kind, affirming, and easy to talk to.
I do not know. She just listens. I can talk to her without feeling like everything turns into an argument.
But why are you telling her things that you have not said to me?
Because every time I try to talk here, it feels tense.
So instead of working through that with me, you build emotional closeness with someone else?
This is how emotional affairs often begin.
Yeah.
Not with romance, but with relief.
The danger here is misplaced vulnerability. The spouse is taking emotional stress, pain, and personal disclosure outside the marriage instead of addressing the issue within it. And the key teaching point is emotional support becomes emotional dependence. The other person becomes the safe place. Secrecy and comparison begin to grow. The marriage gets weaker while the outside bond gets stronger. And what should have happened instead? Name the disconnection in the marriage, seek healthier communication, set work boundaries, protect emotional intimacy at home.
So, as we just went through this first scenario, would you say that the husband, like many husbands, they were just clueless because this thing was so subtle and it appeared to be, it appears to be harmless. And that's one of the things that make it not easy to recognize once it begins to play out initially.
I would say yes and no. I say yes because while it's something that it's not planned, you still have to be mindful in the back of your mind because disclosing your feelings to someone and someone of the opposite sex outside of your marriage, that's a big no-no. I mean, that could have been given, but like the scenario said, he's stressed, he's tired, so maybe he gave in to being tired. So that's why I said yes. He should have known better, but no, he was tired and he's feeling like he's at the point where he can't talk to his wife because there's a disconnection. So instead of talking to her, he went outside and started disclosing to this female coworker.
So the danger here then is the personal disclosure, that there
Yeah,
are just certain boundaries
that you just
don't
you
cross.
don't cross.
Okay.
Correct, correct.
All right, so let's look at scenario number 2. So a wife forms a deep connection with a man in church or ministry through prayer, counsel, and emotional support.
It started with prayer. He was just encouraging me. I did not think anything was wrong
But why does he know what you're carrying before I do?
because he asked. He checks in, he sees where something is off.
And now you need his voice more than mine?
This one can be especially deceptive because it feels spiritual.
But spiritual language does not remove the need for relational boundaries.
Yeah, that's right.
Key teaching points here. Spiritual intimacy can become emotional intimacy. Vulnerability under the label of prayer or support can still cross boundaries.
Definitely does. Yeah.
Needing another person emotionally in a way that competes with your spouse is always dangerous.
Very dangerous.
So, church and ministry settings do not make people immune to temptation. What should have happened instead involves same gender accountability where appropriate. Keep communication transparent, guard emotional dependency, and strengthen spiritual and emotional connection within the confines of marriage.
Yeah, definitely. And now this is scenario number 3, the social media DM friendship.
So, a husband reconnects with an old acquaintance online. Casual messages become frequent and even personal. It was just Instagram messages. It was not like we were meeting up
Then why did you delete them?
because I knew you would overreact like you always do.
Or because you knew I was crossing a line?
This is one of the most common modern pathways into emotional affairs. Because, as the wife just stated, as in this case, Sandy, it was crossing a line.
Yes, right.
So, digital access makes private emotional connection easier, faster, and harder to monitor.
And the key teaching point is secrecy is a major warning sign. I'm going to say that again. Secrecy is a major warning sign. When you have to start deleting messages because you don't want your spouse to find out, or your spouse doesn't know your password to your phone or to your device. And whenever you're talking to this person and your spouse is like coming to the same room, you're whispering and you're not speaking audibly. It's like you don't want him to hear what you're saying. So secrecy, if you have to be hiding it, then that's a major warning sign.
I want to stop right here for a second to just, get a little deeper into this. Are you saying then, or suggesting rather, that spouses should know the passwords for each other's devices?
Yes. Yes, I do. And the reason why it's not even so much for you want to stay on keeping tabs on your spouse. God forbid if something should happen to your spouse and you need to get into your phone. How are you going to get into your phone? Like, let's say there's an emergency or something happened, seriously happened, and you need to get into your phone to get a phone number to call a family member, to call whatever. I just think it's just something that's a given.
Interesting.
You disagree?
No, it's not that I disagree. I was trying to think, would there ever be a situation, or could there be a situation where one would not want their spouse to know the password for their device. And I'm not thinking in the sense where a relationship has gone south and the two individuals are separated, and that's different. But in the case of, the average marriage, and the wife doesn't know the password to her husband's phone, and the husband doesn't know the password to his wife's phone, I don't think people even think much about that. They probably think that, well, I have agency and I am allowed as an adult to make some decisions on my own, and not everything that I do I necessarily need to share with my spouse. So what are your thoughts about that?
I mean, when I say everything, I mean, my husband doesn't, you don't have to know every single detail of every single conversation or text that I have on my phone. But I just think that there's nothing wrong with knowing, because we know each other's passwords, so I don't see anything wrong. I guess because we do it, so I kind of just figured everybody out there is doing it too. But I mean, I know Lincoln's password. He knows my password for my phone and my devices. So for me, I think it's just a given. Maybe you all should DM us or make a comment on this episode as to whether you agree or disagree if your spouse should have access to your password.
That might be the next, rounds of discussion about, how transparent, we should be
Yeah.
within our marriages. But, we'll get back on.
Yeah. All right, back to teaching point number 2. Deleted messages usually point to hidden awareness, meaning that you know exactly what you're doing. And key teaching point number 3, digital closeness still creates real attachment. Yes, it does. Because if you remember when you're courting with the person, most of the time, well, the age that we're living in, you're texting someone or you're calling someone when you first start talking to each other. So you know that what you're doing, you like this young lady, you like this lady, or you like this gentleman, you're going to be communicating through your phones. That's a given. And the next key teaching point is nothing physical happened does not mean no betrayal happened. And I'll say that again. Nothing physical happened does not mean no betrayal happened.
So what should have happened instead? Keep online friendships transparent. Very good suggestion.
Yeah, that's what Lincoln and that's what we do.
And avoid private emotional conversations.
Yeah.
Establish boundaries around DMs, texting, and late night messaging. Honor your spouse's discomfort. I'm going to say that one again. Honor your spouse's discomfort instead of dismissing it. I always remember, this brother, Dr. Trapani, saying
Yeah, I
that
remember him.
we should always follow the, not the weakness, but the convictions of the spouse that, I'm trying to remember the actual word that he used. So let's say whoever has the most sensitive convictions, that should be the one that we follow. And not the one that is not as sensitive, but the one that is most sensitive, because it helps to keep peace within the relationship. So if either spouse is more sensitive to a particular thing, then we need to honor that.
Yeah. Okay, scenario number 4, comfort during marital conflict. And the role play is a wife is hurt, lonely, and frustrated in her marriage and begins confiding in another man who makes her feel heard. I was hurting, he was just there to listen.
But you gave him the part of you that was supposed to come to me.
I did not feel safe bringing it to you anymore.
Then we needed help, not another attachment.
I agree. This scenario is powerful because it shows how pain and loneliness can make outside comfort feel especially appealing. I'm going to say that again. This scenario is powerful because it shows how pain and loneliness can make outside comfort feel especially appealing. That's so true.
But comfort outside the marriage can quickly become attachment outside the marriage.
Yeah.
And the key teaching points here are: emotional pain can make people vulnerable to unhealthy closeness. Being heard by someone else can create a dangerous bond.
Yeah.
And unresolved conflict at home does not justify redirected intimacy. So support becomes betrayal when it replaces the spouse relationally. So what should have happened instead is that we should seek help for the marital conflict. Name the loneliness honestly.
Yeah.
Bring pain into counseling, not into another attachment. So we build emotional safety intentionally. And I just wanted to say here, as I'm thinking about it, we have discussed communication styles, from the Gottman's work that they do on relationships. And they talk about having an attachment style that pulls toward each other. You pull towards each other, not pulling away.
Right.
And anytime you begin to have any kind of a friction in your relationship, whether you're married or you just started courtship or you're engaged to be married, once some sort of a conflict arises, you should always pull towards each other. It doesn't matter who apologizes first. Remember that you are always on the same team, playing on the same team.
Yeah.
So since you're on the same team, everything that either party does, it's for the benefit of the relationship.
Okay, we're going to do scenario number 5, the small boundary crossing that feels harmless. And in this scenario, a spouse does not set out to have an emotional affair, but repeatedly crosses small lines with someone over time.
It was never one big thing.
Then what was it?
Private jokes, checking in, little compliments, talking more, hiding less from them, and more from you.
That's exactly how these things grow.
This may be the most realistic scenario of all.
Yes. Because many emotional affairs do not begin with one major decision. They grow through repeated small compromises.
So here's some key teaching points on this one. Secrecy rarely starts big.
Yeah, never does. Never does.
Emotional affairs often grow through repetition.
Yep.
Harmless becomes harmful when boundaries are not honored. And we cannot state enough about boundaries because these things, usually when they begin, things appears to be just casual, non-threatening, nothing out of the ordinary, subtle. However, they can quickly grow. So what is fed emotionally will grow. So what should have happened instead?
Recognize the drift early. Set boundaries before emotional dependency forms.
Can you pause right there? So it says recognize the drift early and set boundaries before emotional dependency forms. Are people noticing when emotional, dependency is forming or is beginning to form? Are they really noticing these things?
I think sometimes some people do. I think every couple, when you're going through something as a couple, you kind of like know that there's a disconnection. And yes, we did a previous episode, we spoke about disconnecting. I think if both parties are honest, they will realize that things are not the same. And sometimes we say it through our day-to-day life, things are not the same. You used to hug me every morning before you leave. I notice that you don't do it. Like we said earlier, the little simple things. So yes, you can start to notice, because remember, you're marrying someone that you truly care about. You believe in your heart that this is the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with.
Sure.
And then the feelings comes and you get married, and the first few months are going great. And then, as we said earlier, it's the little things that you start to drift. I do believe that you do notice. You do notice it.
Okay.
Yeah. And we said set boundaries before emotional dependency forms. Stop normalizing small inappropriate habits.
And that's a big key right there.
Yeah. Your spouse shouldn't have to be saying it like over and over, like, this bothers me. When I notice when you speak to such and such, your voice changes, you sound a little bit flirtatious.
Ooh.
Don't dismiss your spouse. Don't say, oh, you're overreacting, oh, you're just, don't dismiss them. If they're saying that, then take heed to what your spouse is saying. Especially, as I said before, that your spouse. Yes, when I say no, I'm not saying knowing from a rival perspective, like, yeah, I know everything. No, you're still discovering each other. But there's certain things about your spouse, their habits, their preferences, their their dislikes, and there's some intimate details that you become aware of.
Yes.
So when your spouse says to you, I think, you're being a little bit too, I know that, when we go to a gathering, you're this person, I notice that you go up to him and you're speaking to him, and you might find yourself putting your hand on his shoulder. If your spouse says that to you as a wife, take heed to what he's saying. Don't just brush it off and it's like, I don't and sometimes when you're not being necessarily defensive, when you say, I don't really mean any harm, I didn't really mean anything by it, that's just how I am, maybe you do need to have a sit down and say, you know what, we need to discuss about this. Because sometimes I believe in a relationship, you do have to start setting up boundaries. Especially if the person is, let's say one spouse is more friendlier than the other. You need to sit down and say, well, this is how I am, I'm friendly and stuff like that, but I won't cross the line by doing certain things, because I know it's going to offend you.
I think one thing that needs to happen with couples as they begin to grow their relationship, I think each of them have to take heed to certain things. I think couples help to protect each other
Yeah.
and protecting that marriage, protecting that oneness, and protecting each other's dignity is important. That self respect. So I think that it is just natural for the couples to watch for each other.
Yeah, definitely.
And these things should never be dismissed or taken lightly.
Lightly.
The
Yep.
things that your spouse might notice and say, "Hun, I think you just need to be mindful of just certain actions or certain ways in which you behave
Yes.
when you're around this particular person." Because I believe we may have stated it before on the previous episode, but usually we might have like an inkling that there's something about that other person that we might like, and we may not think much of it, but we should just not dismiss it.
Yeah.
I think it's important to be wise and say, listen, so and so is quite engaging and they have a wonderful personality. But I am wondering if there's something more, if there might be some sort of attraction. So if you notice anything, and I think, having conversations like that with your spouse is good
Yeah.
because, as I just stated, couples should watch and look out for each other because some things start in a way that it's not meant to be overt, it's not meant to cause harm, but things can just easily speed up and just get out of control if we do not mind those minor checks,
Yeah.
those little nuances of our actions, and as you mentioned about the voice. And when we see these things or we notice these things about our spouses, we do need to say something.
Yeah.
We do need to have that conversation. And it should never be received as, oh, you're overreacting.
Yeah.
That's just you. You're looking too much into it. No, we need to be mindful of our behaviors and actions around others,
Yeah.
especially if they're not, close friends. And you just
Especially.
met someone, and if you're someone that you're very affectionate,
Or
you,
friendly.
you may want to tone that down.
Down. Yeah. I agree. I agree.
Continue, sorry. I just felt like, digging a little deeper
That's
into that.
okay. That's okay. We're here to learn, and we're open to learn. And it says here, what is fed emotionally will grow. And that is so true. The more you feed into it, it's the more it's going to grow. And the next thing you know, it just blows up. And what should have happened instead? Recognize the drift early, set boundaries before set boundaries before emotional dependency forms, stop normalizing small inappropriate habits, and protect the marriage before it becomes a crisis.
So we're going to now talk about the common patterns that we see across all of these scenarios. When we step back and look at all 5 scenarios, certain patterns keep showing up. And here are some common patterns to consider based on these scenarios that we just role played. Emotional needs going outside the marriage. And I just want to let that sit there and you think about that for a moment. Emotional needs going outside the marriage.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is a big one.
Yeah.
Anytime you find yourself, doing things secretly,
Yeah.
it should make you consider caution. So secrecy, why am I being secret? what is it that I'm hiding from my spouse?
Yeah.
Why don't I want him or her to know?
Because if you hide it, something is wrong. If you find yourself hiding stuff, then something is wrong. If it's something that you can't share it with your spouse, something is wrong.
And it should be an immediate warning sign to you. You know, you heard me say physiological changes. There's certain things that become apparent when there's some sort of attraction between individuals. And even if it starts on one side before it becomes, two-way,
Wrong, yeah.
we need to be mindful if we are becoming secretive.
Yeah.
And then the third one, vulnerability without boundaries. The fourth, loneliness or unresolved pain. Because if there's unresolved pain, if there's loneliness, then the relationship is suffering
Yeah.
and it needs to be addressed. Then the fifth one, feeling seen, heard, or validated by someone else. It strokes the ego. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel seen. And before this person, I am present.
All right.
I still have value. And these might have been questions in your fledgling relationship that, once again, are not being addressed. So, of course, it's going to feel good. And before long, you're thinking, oh, she gets me, he gets me.
Yeah.
So, repeated small compromises. See? It's not once, it's not twice.
Yeah.
Why am I repeatedly given these compromises? The marriage becoming less primary emotionally.
Wow.
Really concerning and just things that spouses should consider. Say?
Most emotional affairs do not begin with "I want to betray my spouse." Definitely not. No one plans. Your bride is walking down the aisle towards you on your marriage ceremony. You're not standing there looking at this beautiful woman walking towards you and saying, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna betray her." As a matter of fact, we usually exchange vows, even whether you repeat after whoever is officiating the wedding, or like Lincoln and I did for our wedding, we had our own vows. Nowhere in the vows did I write, "Well, I'm going to, if I do betray him." No one plans to betray their spouse. It's not planned.
Did you write it yourself?
Yes, I did write my vows. I wrote it years ago before you came into my life.
So then how can it be for me? So they were, I guess, general in a sense,
No, I mean,
are part of it.
when we started courting, then I started like changing and tweaking, but I did write them out.
And I guess as I'm thinking about it, it made sense because there were certain things that you wanted for yourself and certain desires that you had that you wanted to experience
Yep.
from, a spouse. And so it makes sense. And I could see where you would tweak it to personalize it, once you started to get to know some things about me. Yeah. So getting back to the fact that we don't set out saying, I want to betray my spouse.
Nobody does that.
So they begin with, this feels harmless.
Yeah.
So that's usually our approach when things starts off. This is harmless.
Yeah, you start
So
justifying it. If you have to
justification is it.
yeah, if you start to justify it, and then you're thinking that, oh, this is harmless. I didn't really mean anything by doing that. It was just one time. No, no, it's dangerous. And that's why couples need to recognize the warning signs early.
So an emotional affair often begins quietly, but the damage can become very loud.
Yeah. The issue is not whether something physically happened. The issue is whether emotional, intimacy, loyalty, and vulnerability are being redirected outside of the marriage.
So I think that's truly key. And I just wanted to pause here and just say to our viewers that
And listeners.
if this is your first time joining us here on Couples Emporium, I don't want it to be your last. We don't want it to be your last as we're trying to grow this channel. But we do want you to subscribe if you have not already done so, and hit that like button, and remember to share it with someone that you care about that could benefit from the things that we're discussing. And so don't keep it to yourself. And remember to hit the notification bell so that whenever we upload a new episode, you will immediately be notified. So, healthy marriages are not protected by good intentions alone.
They're protected by honesty, boundaries, and intentional care.
So, most emotional affairs do not begin with one big fail, they begin with small compromises that go unchallenged. What you protect early, you may not have to repair later. Actually, I want to say that again.
Yeah,
What you and I,
that's good.
what we protect early, we may never have to repair later. So, as we close out this episode, we want to continue to appeal to you, you couples out there.
Yes.
We're looking to continue to have these conversations, these interviews, and we're looking for couples that are willing to take the plunge. And we always send you the pre-screened questions ahead of time because we never want you to share anything that you're not comfortable sharing. And the questions are generally the same. And you decide how in depth you want to go because we don't want you to say something that you might regret or something that makes you comfortable in your relationship. Sam, you want to say anything?
Yes, we are looking for couples that are courting or dating, engaged to be married, newly married, and veterans. Especially the veterans. I would love to have conversation with some veterans out there. And I was talking recently to someone and they were, complimenting on, this podcast that Lincoln and I that we're doing, and I mentioned to them, I said, we'd love to hear from you. And they were like, I'm not so sure because, there's things that we need to, and I'm like, you guys have been married for like 35 years. And I'm sure you are aware that you're always going to have things to work out. That's the whole beauty of marriage. I've been working on a book about marriage before I actually got married. And I said that in the book. I said that you are going to continue to discover each other and you're going to continue to work on each other. I mean, work on yourself individually and you work together as a unit. No marriage is perfect. And my friends out there that you are, as I said, you're in a courtship relationship, you're getting ready to be married, so you're engaged right now. You are recently married and you've been doing this for years. We are extending this invitation to you that we're not looking to invite on this podcast to speak to couples that have perfect marriage, because there's no such thing. Several years ago, I think we were married maybe about 5 years, someone used to call us a power couple. And I said, we're not a power couple. We're just two people that love each other and care about each other. And we're continuing to discover each other. To me, there's no such thing as a power couple.
But aren't you Wonder Woman?
Not today, not on this episode.
And there are days when I feel like Superman, So we're not looking for couples that are perfect.
Yes, that's right.
We're just looking for couples that are willing to share some strategies and tips that can help someone else. So there's something that you do that helps your marriage to continue to grow in a positive way. And these are the things that we're looking for you to share.
Yep.
So we share, we learn from you, and what we share here, we're looking for others to do the same in addition to the things that we provide for you in our discussion. So we thank you for being here, and let it not be your last time.
Lincoln, Sandy.
This has been Couples Emporium. Take care, friends.
Bye for now.